up, guys? Welcome to Faded Town, the #1 Pokemon podcast in the world. These are facts. Look them up in a book. Google them. Pokestats, that shit. Limitless. Whatever you gotta do. So you'll find the answers. It's your first time watching, or if you didn't realize that we moved this from the Sacker Scoop channel to its own channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Like always, it's Friday. We get the best guests, and we might have the best guest. He is considered the GOAT by a handful of people. He's I want to say he's 2-time regional champion, 3-time international champion, and he top 4 worlds. We got Tord with us, dude. How's it going?
Hey, all good, all good.
All good. I kind of just want to jump into it. I think your story is something that hasn't been told very often. And how did you even get into this game? Where did it start?
All right, so I'm gonna do my whole life story here.
Sounds good.
When I was little, right, I played the video games like most other kids, and I went to an event to download the Deoxys.
Okay.
You had to physically be present earlier, so you could download the code and get the Deoxys. And then I saw people playing TCG. That was my local league, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I know that game. I play that with my mom all the time. So and I also beat her all the time. So I'm probably so good in this game, right? I have to go here and beat up these kids. I was like 11, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And then I go to league, and I come with my team deck with like 5 trainers, right? And I get my face smashed in all over and over, and I just lose. So I realized I wasn't good at all, and yeah. But that's where it started. So I just continued going to league every week, and discovered that there's nationals, there's regional cities, all these tournaments you can play, and then eventually the end goal is going to worlds and be the very best, right?
Right.
That was really cool. I like that, and I always enjoy the game, right? So that's basically where it all started. I just continued to play ever since there.
So 11.
You want like,
So 11 years old.
Yeah, I was 11 when I started going to tournaments. I think I started to play the game like just casually when I was like 6, though. So long before I could read, especially English.
Oh,
I can't even read Norwegian yet. So
it's all your cards are in English, right?
Yeah. We don't have our own language in Norway, so all the cards are English.
So when did you, like, how many regional, what did you play like as a junior and senior?
Yeah, so I was 11, right? That was senior at the time. Yeah, like our own age division wasn't named senior. It was like something 11 to 14 or something.
Okay.
But it was basically seniors that we have now.
So
I did play in that. So I got to play like from my first year in senior and all the way
to now.
Up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find success early? Was when you were younger in seniors?
Well, kinda. At my first nationals, I got top 16. It was kind of a big deal because seniors was like the biggest age division we had back then, and like Norway Nats had like over 100 people in seniors alone. So it was pretty crazy back in the day. We actually had a lot of people playing. We have like nothing compared to that now, of course, but at the time it was really cool. So I was really hyped after that performance and continued from that. In my division was like 3-4 players that were just much better than me. So I always ended up losing to those guys. So at tournaments, like cities, regionals and stuff, I would always get like 5th place usually, because those 4 would be top 4 and I would be 5th and be right behind them every time. Eventually they aged up though, and then I was winning like every tournament.
You're like, get out of here.
Because I was a little younger, so I had like 1 year or 2 years where they were not there. But everything was just on a national level, of course. There was nothing outside. That was just in Norway.
Yeah. But those type of players really push you, right? Like you get better by playing people like that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Those are also my like testing partners, of course. Were good friends of mine. after years, right? You get connected with people, especially with like in such a small community. So they end up being some of my closest friends. So it was all good.
That's good. When I think about EU right now, I know that we're kind of jumping forward, but you guys are pretty dominant when it comes to your testing group, right? And your techs are very,
Sorry, I lost you for a second. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah, no problem. I said you guys have been very dominant, like in the last couple of years, with your testing group. And
yeah, sure.
And I feel like your decks are they are meta, but you always have like a little something different. And like when you go into testing for a tournament, what's your thought process is? Do you look at the meta decks and go, this is cool, but I can make it better? Because that's what I kind of see. I see that you take something that's already kind of established and go, let's take it to its full potential. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, so the good combos in Pokemon are often pretty obvious. So a lot of people see them and talk about them. But I try to find, like, if I see the same thing, and I see that people are playing an engine that kind of doesn't make sense, and I try to find another one, for example, and that could be cool. Or they're not playing enough of a certain card, or not playing a card at all, then I try to figure out if it's worth playing those cards and why people are not playing them. And oftentimes I find that they're not playing it just because they haven't tried it, or they're just like following all the others, right?
Right.
Kind of like some cheap mentality, where you don't really dare to try out something new first, because if it doesn't work, you will just be that guy with like the dumb idea, right? That doesn't work. So I guess some of it just has to be with being. You have to be a little brave, right? And trust yourself sometimes, and be like, oh, okay, this is testing really well for me, and I don't get why people are not doing this. Why they should be doing this, because I'm doing this and having a lot of success with it. So why are not other people doing that? So I think just thinking for yourself should be more accepted, basically. You shouldn't be shut down every time you have a new idea just because no one else has talked about it. You should be more accepting of new things, I guess.
Yeah, I think the community, especially with Limitless, because Limitless, like, don't get me wrong, Limitless is an amazing resource for people, but it almost become, for I would say the large majority of the community, it becomes a crutch, where they see that list and that's it. That's the list now. This is the best way to play it. I feel like you use it more of, oh, that was cool, but I'm gonna test that. That's proven. Like, that's proven to be good, but I'm gonna test it a different way and see if I like this one better. And then if all else fails, like, that list is already there, you know.
I mean, my goal is always to make the list you try to copy on Limitless in the first place, right?
Correct.
That's like what I try to make my job.
Right.
So the list have to come from somewhere. So
Yeah. Like,
whenever I use that hits, I try to look at all the cards, think about IDs, draft some decks, all that stuff.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because I felt the same way when I don't know, I think it was like last year I top Ford at Portland with Archie Stoyce, and Sam Chen got 9th. So in my head I was like, if Sam Chen would have made top 8, everyone uses his list. They don't use my list. But now that I made top, he missed it. I was like, I got the Archie's list, boys. It's so funny.
I can see that. So some people have a lot of reputation, so
yeah.
people are more likely to copy their list, almost regardless if they did the best with it or not, right?
Right. I mean, I do the same. Like, I think I do it more now when players are just more respected, you know? It's like, I know he got 9th, and that guy won the tournament, but who does? Who does?
But he was unlucky, and his list looks really cool, for example, right?
Let's go back. So you're young. You find some success in seniors. Obviously, at this point, you're getting a lot of support from your family on this journey.
Yeah, like my family has always been really supportive. Especially my mom was the one that followed me to tournaments and everything. Was also the one that played Pokemon at home with me.
Okay.
Right. She also plays from time to time, and she even joined events when I was younger because at an event she didn't want to sit around the whole day. Right. She was
Right.
like, if I'm going to be here, I might as well play. Right. Because I also enjoy this game. So
Right.
she's playing. And I had a lot of fun with it as well. So always felt nice having the support that way.
That's cool.
And she still knows the game, right? So at big tournaments now, she still tries to like watch the stream and try to like keep an eye over me that way. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's got to be like when you do well, because obviously you've done well very recently a lot. That's probably someone you go to, right? It's like you make top 8, be like, "Hey, I made it, mom," you know. As much, I mean, that's your support system, especially when you say she played games with you at home and stuff. Like you don't really see that a lot, especially from the people I've talked to. You know.
I mean, when I was 6 years old, right? I was playing a lot of Pokemon, but I was only playing against my mom, and it was only
That's
at
really
home.
cool, actually.
So I did play a lot for like 5 years, but it was still only at home. And then suddenly I was playing at League, right? And I was playing against other people as well.
Yeah. So you move up to Masters. When does this testing group with like Philip and Pedro and all that? When does this happen?
That's a long time
Long
leap
time?
when I reached up to Masters. That's almost 7 years.
Really? Okay. So
Yeah.
in those, because like, did that start in the money area basically?
Yeah, that's basically from the money era.
Right.
So like from 2017 and onwards, it takes like basically 1 year into the money area, and then we are pretty good friends and start testing a lot.
So before the money era, what was your success like? How many like what? Because I know the tournaments and stuff are very different out there. That there's not as many, so it's really hard to gauge like how good you are.
For an American, it's kind of weird because you don't have these big regionals you can like put under your belt and call yourself good with. You have these smaller regionals, and then you only have basically nationals and UIC each year, which was like the old, or like actually I said the UIC, ECC I meant. ECC was the old UIC, which was basically the only thing we had. For CP, they actually made it count as a nationals after a couple of years. Before it was, I think at first it was only like counted as a regional, unfortunately. But after a while, they counted as like our second nationals we could attend each year, CP wise, which was pretty cool. So in that time period, I had a lot of success still in Norway. I was winning nationals back to back to back, and the years I didn't win, I got second. I kept that streak for like 6 years.
Wow,
that was pretty cool. And I won 1 year. I won 4 regionals back to back to back to back. That was really nice.
See, these are the type of story like people wanna, they don't know because of there's no Limitless, you know. So
yeah, I did wrote an article for Limitless where I like tried to talk about some of my story in the game, and some of these are in there, and like kind of detail. Try to like cover the big stuff. So you can find that article still on Limitless, I think.
I'll look on Limitless and I'll link it down below because I like these stories need to be told. I think our archive and our content creation is so new where really we got the last like 4 years, and then when I start talking to people, I'm like, hey, how have you done? Sounds like you're a 2-time regional champion, but then you're like, between those 7 years, I have four regionals in a row, killed it, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. Cool. So in 2012, I got top 4 at the ECC. That was like my first big result internationally. Because that tournament actually had hundreds of people attending, right?
Yeah.
It was basically the same as an internets that we have now, and I got top 4. So really happy with that. And the same year I won Norway Nationals for my first time. I actually never won it in senior. I was way too nervous. Always choked. I couldn't win it. But then in Masters, after I got the confidence boost from the ECC, I managed to win it. And then just continued from there. 2 years after, 2014, I got top 4 at the ECC again. And then, I don't know. I still just played the nationals each year, did well at them, and good at local regionals in Norway. We didn't really have much else. I went to Worlds basically every year as well, except 2010 and 2011. But every year from 2012 and onwards, I've been to Worlds every year. And I never did too great, actually. My best result was in seniors in 2008. I got top 16. And in Masters, I got a couple top 32s, but never broke past that.
Okay. So
I got a lot of consistent top 32s, but no one remembers if a random Norwegian got top 32 at Worlds, right? Nice. So I never really managed to make a name for myself before the cash era started. At least
I think it was hard though.
At least on the global level, I felt I was really good. I had really good results. I was really happy with that, but you can't ask a random American if you knew who Tord was.
Exactly. I think that by doing this podcast, I've noticed there's a lot of things that go unnoticed before this year. I always bring this up where Xander, he was 15 and he got top 4 at Worlds or something, and no one even talks about it. I'm that should have been a big story.
I know. A lot of the top players know about
yes.
Things like that because they're really interested and invested in a lot of storylines from other players. So.
Yeah,
I knew about Xander, for example. I know he's crazy good and really underappreciated for how good he actually is.
That's
for example.
Exactly what I on his episode. That's what I said.
The best ones out there, right? So.
Yeah, I was Xander might be the most underrated, and then people are how could you say that? I'm well, you say that because you know Xander, but community-wise, people don't know who Xander is. And I was that's a problem. When someone's that good, they should know who Xander is, you know?
Yeah, it's really weird, for sure.
Yeah. So we get to the money era, and is this where you get this testing group that's been super dominant?
Yeah, so at the start of the money era, I managed to get top 4 again. It was basically my third time, right, at ECC. But now it's named EUIC, and it's worth a lot of money. So now it's pretty cool. I get that top 4 placement, and then I use that founding to basically excuse myself to travel to all the tournaments I could from then on and out the season. So I went to Australia IC, did not go to Brazil IC, but then I went to NAIC at the end of the year. And it was a couple of regionals. I think I got top 4 at one of the regionals. I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
And then I got top 32 at Australia.
Yep.
And then it kind of exploded at NAIC because I managed to win that one.
Right.
And from there, I got the biggest confidence boost ever, right? And felt like I've been on tear ever since, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point, are you working with Philip and them at NAIC here?
I think it kind of started at NAIC there. We were testing. I remember us testing together, some at least, in a hotel room before NAIC. So I knew their list and they knew mine before we went in. They were pretty similar. We disagreed about a tech choice. They went in with Sigard EX, I think. GX? EX.
Something like that. Yeah.
And I went in with just straight Drampa, another Drampa. But it was pretty similar otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that match is one of the most it might have been one of the most watched because of the 3 rallets that were prized, but
We're talking about the NIC final?
Yeah, the finals.
That was actually another tournament. But,
was it really?
Yeah.
Really?
He did not prize 3 rolls against me. But the final was still watched a lot, though. It has a lot of views, in later time.
Yes.
It was like the first NAIC,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That it was. It was one of the. It was,
It was finally opened, and no, there was not an American that won it. So everyone's kind of in an uproar over that.
But
I got
don't think we
I
won
got a
anything.
lot of hate.
Yeah. Did you really?
Yeah, I got a lot of hate
Really?
because in the top 8, I got cheating allegations on me for slow play because I played against Ryan, and he did a knockout on my Pokemon, and I took a really long time to promote my
I think I remember this.
Pokemon and draw for turn. And I used like 30 seconds, I think. It was a really hard situation because I didn't know who to promote. Because we're like a tiny micro decision with rainbow energy and stuff. So I wondered if I wanted to promote my Garbodor with or without energy to set up for later. And the Matt was really important with his Canyon EX and his Steam Up thing.
Yeah.
So promoting the wrong one would force another energy or something, if I remember correctly. I wanted to make sure if I would do that or not. But basically, I used a long time for that. And time got cold. So Ryan was turn 0 and not me. So that meant that Ryan would only have one more turn in the match.
Oh, that's rough.
Instead of 2 more turns. So if I had been turn 0, right?
Yeah.
And that did give him a disadvantage. But the problem was that I would have won that game anyway. Yeah. It was basically locked up 90% at least for me to win it. But since that happened, I got 100% to win it.
True.
Because when he only got one more turn, I could just go for a play that locked him out of the game. Because when he only got one more turn, he couldn't end and try to come back anymore.
Right.
I could just go Lysander, knock out an EX. And then since he was on his last turn, we'd have to knock out an EX to even out the score, right? To not just lose instantaneously to the clock. Right. So when he has the Lysander and not N, he can't come back anymore. Yeah. Because he has to even out, but then he can't come back. So I get to keep my hand and then I just Lysander again to win.
That's true. Yep.
So I could basically lock him completely out of the game since he didn't get his extra turn. If he used his N, I had a crazy amount of outs to win the game. Because I had 3 balls, 3 Lele, teammates versus Seeker, and I get to draw 3 cards or something. So that was really, really high outs for me to get out of that. Right. So I'm really sure I would have won the game anyway, but I got so much hate for that, and it was really annoying. Yeah. And the funny thing is that I didn't even wear a watch for the match, right? None of us were a clock, and none of us had any idea how much time was left.
But yeah, I don't know. People are just full of hate when it comes to stuff like that, I think.
So it was a really good excuse though for people to
you're right.
Make my win seem kind of cheapish because of that.
Yeah,
but I think that kind of blew over after a while.
Oh, I mean, when you go.
But after that, I was really determined to make another good result though.
Right.
Because then if I had another good result, then it would show that it wasn't just luck or time manipulation or whatever, right?
All right. So when you win NIIC, that feels great, you know. Is that that's your standout? And then you go into the next season, and you're definitely on. I'm sure you were on the radar before, but now you're really on the radar, and you hit up. And this is your big year. You go straight into London and you win that, and then Sydney you win that. It's mind fucking blowing, dude. And
yeah, it was really crazy. I think the UIC is the one I'm the most proud of. Okay. Because there I really, really tried hard to make something new and kind of break the format and test my deck to perfection, basically. So that's where I brought Sauropod, right?
Correct, yeah.
And Sorag was just looked at as a bad auxiliary at the time. because it was something that drew cards and it was worth 2 prizes. So we'll just get killed by Gallade and you will lose. And Guardy Gallade was the most played deck, so why would you ever bother playing Sword Arc? Looked bad. And yeah, but I was determined to make the card work. I tried countless different partners for the card, and I ended up with Golisopod as like the best one of choice. I also added Puzzle of Time into the deck. And Puzzle of Time didn't see play for a long time because it didn't have any cards to actually make it work before Sword Arc. So it was just kind of forgotten about. But then the deck everything came together, and the archetype and like engine type of deck was used for a whole year and was considerably the best in the format for a whole year. So I definitely think that's my proudest deck achievement. So just making the sword pod, I think I will take my greatest pride in that.
I think the whole thing is nutty to me. Like, to win 1 is like super hard, and then you win 3. Like, at the third one, when you're in Australia, you win that. Like, what goes through your head? Like, like when you actually, because you get a whole day, right? You get to the finals on Saturday. You're going into the finals the night that Saturday. Like, what's in your head? Like, if I win this third one, like.
Honestly, so Australia was really, really weird for me because I was crazy sick at the tournament. I was having high fever, and I had to get Nico to write my deck list for me because I was too sick to write
Real
it.
MVP,
I felt at least. I was just laying at the couch with open mouth, breathing. I was like, I shouldn't go, man. This is shit. So I went to the doctor and got like some pretty heavy medication for me, so I could play the tournament. And it kind of worked out. I had a lot of games day 1 I had to struggle for. I like have to win last turn, game 3 of time. So it was just a really big uphill battle, but I ended up with a really good score. Last round of day 1, I asked my opponent to ID, even though we were both in day 2, which is something you as a good player would never do.
Right.
I just had no energy to play that last game.
Please.
That was crazy. And he didn't even know it was day 2 already, so he took the ID.
Wow, we take this. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, great ID, perfect.
Perfect. That's
See you tomorrow, man.
Right.
So that was cool. And yeah, I think I chose the worst deck possible for the tournament as well.
Dude, you won.
Because like we have one kind of sketchy matchup, and that is Berserk, right? I think I faced 14 Berserks.
Wow.
It was literally the only deck I faced at the tournament. It was Berserk after Berserk after Berserk. And
you had an out to it.
So somehow we just got through them.
We take this.
If you always slam the double candy turn 2, you probably beat them. But yeah, I do really well. And my opponents hadn't seen the deck before, so they were not playing too great either. And was playing into like all the one-off weird item and training cards. Because we play like 4 weird tech cards that could throw the game. So from our opponents, play like 1 hammer, 1 max potion, 1 parallel city, Flowstone or something. So all of these used at the right times could really mess up our opponent's the board state and game plan. So I managed to get through that. And even after the final, I was standing there like, did that really happen? I'm still shit sick. I don't know where I am even. So it never really dawned to me ever, I think, that I won that tournament, because that was not supposed to happen. I was not there mentally at all. So it never really dawned to me. So suddenly I was like a 3-time champion, but the last one never happened in my head, right? I was like, I got that one, I guess, but
oh, that's crazy. Because like this success, as in like, obviously you've been playing since you were like 6, but the success in those 2 years, where you go 3 internationals, like you turn into from like you're Tord, you're a good player, to, hey, he might be the best that's ever played this game. And, like, that's got to be, like, crazy to even think. Because then you go back to NAIC and you're in the finals again. Like, if you take that down, like, there's no question. It's not even 3 internationals in 1 year. Like, how, like, did you, going in that year, in that format, did you just have to play? Like, was that, do you take it as that format that year, you could read the format very well? Or was every tournament just a separate journey and you prepped well enough to make it to the finals on all those tournaments?
I actually think every tournament was a separate journey because they all felt really different.
Yeah.
And as I said, Australia was really weird for me because I was not supposed to win that one. We did have a new deck that we had tested some. And in the aftermath, I think the list had the perfect 60 to make that archetype work as good as it did. But definitely felt, I don't know, it didn't feel like I should have won that one at all. But I somehow did, and of course it's crazy to me. Still feels unreal. But then back at the NAIC again, when I got to the finals, that felt much more deserved. I felt.
Yeah.
Because then I was again bringing something new that tested like crazy, and knew what the expected metagame was, and everything just felt very fair. And I knew like almost every matchup was really favored. No one had no idea what I was doing with my deck, and everything was great.
That's the best feeling, right? When you go into a tournament, you play a card and someone has to read it. You're like, wait, what?
Oh yeah, that's always really fun.
It's the best, especially when you know you've tested it so much, and you know it's good. Like, I know this is good. This guy isn't reading it because I'm playing bad cards. He's reading it. He doesn't know what it is, and I know it's good.
I'm not sitting here miming. This is just a new deck I made that my opponent actually don't know about yet, which is really great.
Right. How much of this? Because I mean, I've had Nico on here. I've had Pedro on here, and they obviously they talk about you in highs and that you're.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and a lot of this deck theory they put on you. Is that right? Do you come with them with a deck and go, this is my idea, guys. Let's try to figure this out that you've been working on, and then obviously they're going to give their input, right?
Yeah, I guess a lot of the decks have been me doing most of the fine tuning, at least. I remember the Lonzo deck for NIC. That was originally Philip's idea.
Okay.
To like start testing that, so I'll credit like the start of that at least to him. And yeah, I don't know. The sword poll was at least mine. I'll take all the credit for that.
Everyone's giving you all the credit for everything. That's what I'm saying. But I feel like you guys, and like a lot of people want to say it's like the Limitless Texas testing group, but like you're sponsored by someone else. But it's like we're still gonna call you that, you know?
Yeah. I mean that's fair. Most of the people in the testing group is from Limitless,
right.
So
when that testing group is full of killers, and like when you talk to them and they're like, yeah, but Tord really leads us, you know, he gives us that direction. I mean, we put our inputs, but like he gives us the path to victory. Like that's gotta feel real great, you know?
It's kind of weird. I never really thought about myself as the one that would lead people like that, but I don't know, it sort of happens.
Yeah, because like oh, go ahead.
So took that role somehow.
Yeah, when I talked to Pedro about what NAIC last year, I want to say,
yeah,
he talked about you guys had this whole concept on the Jirachi mime combo, and also like he told me after like a week after about it or something like that, and I started playing it at Cups. Like, that shit was so busted. I was like, this thing is disgusting. Like, Stinger, Baba, Drachi. I was like, God, I wish you guys played it, but he's like, nah, dude, I convinced him. I was like, Zapdos is too good. We can't not play Muck. God, but could you imagine?
Yeah.
Didn't you? How did that tournament? I don't even remember who won that tournament.
The same concept won the tournament actually. It's like Stinger Sorark, Checkmate top.
Oh, it
thing.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, Stefano won that one. We played the same. I tied my winning in. It was kind of unfortunate.
Okay.
But like my list wasn't optimal. In thinking about it later, I think the list really missed one Giovanni, like to clean up the bench, because that was like one of my main problems in a lot of matches. And it was in the list originally, but somehow it got cut before like the final day of the tournament. So ended up not playing it, and I was just losing a lot of games to poor board states, which is kind of awkward. But
if you look at last year, like obviously, like the 2 years before, like you can't compare. Like 2017, 2018 might have been the greatest like year ever. So you're coming off this huge high, and then you have for a normal player, you had a good year, but for you, it's very I want to say lackluster. Did you? But then you go to Worlds and get top 4. Like, how does that work? Like, you don't perform like you normally do.
The thing was, I was barely playing any events at that year, so I was trying to focus on school.
Okay.
So I wasn't really doing much of Pokemon, but somehow I barely scraped into top 22 because, like, when the summer vacation kicked around, I could start playing again, right?
Yeah.
And I had to do really well at all the remaining events, and I did. And I managed to scrape by 21st place, so I got my top 22, and got into day 2. And then suddenly I went into top 4. It was just completely crazy, all of it. I was like, summer vacation, let's go, let's play, let's get in there. And it happened, and managed to roll into top 4. So
that's cool. So
that was a lot of fun.
Is that top 4? Does that mean more than everything for you?
It does mean a lot to me. I do still feel that like the IC wins are kind of worth more. At least like when I won the first one, I won an IC. I guess my top 4 Worlds is at least worth more to me than like my 3rd IC win, or maybe even the 2nd one as well, because Worlds is kind of its own thing. It has a lot of prestige, and after you get into day 2, it's basically just a stacked cup, and a lot of things can happen. So personally, I don't give the tournament that much credit anymore. But of course it's fun, and it's a world championship, so it has a lot of hype around it. But I still treasure like the difficulty in winning ICs a lot, because I think those are basically just as hard, if not even harder, than Worlds. Of course, you face another caliber of player most rounds, but a lot more rounds you have to win, and that does count a lot, right? So you still play Pokemon. There's a lot of variance, so the more rounds you have to get through, the harder it is, basically.
Yeah, that's my big subject on here is, the weighing, like what's harder? Is it harder going to NAIC where you're playing one of the biggest tournaments ever, or going to OCIC where you have 300 and you're like when I had Nico on, he told me his first 5 opponents. I'm like, if that's your first 5 opponents at any regional, you're having a really bad day. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's very unlucky.
So, like, that could be his Worlds run, right? Yeah. That could be his first 5 opponents at Worlds, basically. Yeah. So I don't know. It's really subjective what tournament you think is the hardest one. Anyway, I think doing well at any of these big tournaments is a big achievement, no matter what. So if it's better to have won that or whatever.
It doesn't matter. I like it.
It's all right. But winning Worlds is, of course, something special. I'll still try to strive for that, of course. But
So
I'm still more than happy with everything I accomplished in this game for sure. To win any tournament, you need a bit of luck, no matter how hard you prepare. Right? So I'm just happy that I could prepare really hard and get the little bit of extra luck I needed to pull through at the tournaments as well.
yeah,
So
let's talk about that. What goes into your preparation? Do you grind every day? Are you grinding consistently, at least playing every day, and then when you do you do like a boot camp right before a big event?
I mean, it depends a lot. Depends what you have the time for, and also like what event it is. So for EIC, for example, the one I'm so extremely proud of,
Yes.
when I prepped with Sauropod, I was basically grinding every day because I felt the deck was really hard to play. You had to like do 2-3 trades every turn, and every card you discarded could cost you the game if done incorrectly. And then you had the puzzles. If you brought back the wrong card, you could lose the game. And then you could basically play N, Guzma, or Acerola every turn. And if you play the wrong one, you often lost the game as well, right? So you had a lot of options, basically, is what I'm saying. And I wanted to play it basically optimal when bringing it. So I was grinding that deck for a long time. But like just in general, I think if you want to do well at an event, just pick a deck as early as possible and then play with it a lot so you know all the matchups. And at that point, when events come around, even if people are saying, oh no, everyone's going to play that or this or whatever, you're going to face a lot of different stuff. So the most important thing is that you just know your deck well enough and you're confident with it. That will help you a lot more than picking
I think I lost you.
The regional. I was lagging a little, right?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, that will help you a lot more than picking what is considered to be optimal for the regional, because it's probably not optimal for you, right? So sometimes you can just go with whatever is your comfort pick. You can go with, I know this deck, I played it a lot, I will play it again, right?
Right.
Didn't get any worse the last 2 weeks, we'll play it again.
I think that's a lot. I think a lot of people say that, and they're like, it's better to know your deck than to try to guess what everyone else is going to play.
You also have to recognize your skill level, right?
Yes.
Because 99% of players shouldn't be switching decks every week because they are not at that level, right?
Correct.
If I can say that not even I feel at that level sometimes, then you should just stick with whatever you know, right?
Correct.
And I think that will benefit you a lot in the end. So there's so many stories about people that just have a pet deck and they keep their pet deck for like a year. And then one event, bam, that was the correct play. That was when it was really good. And they will just go through the tournament basically because they still play the same deck. They know their deck really well. And the format is correct for it.
Right.
And then they will do really well, even though they didn't do well at the other ones. Because they still like their deck and they felt was kind of lucky on the other tournaments. Still have faith in the deck and maybe modify it a little bit for next tournament.
Yeah, I think that comes up a lot where you look at someone's level list and it's just Pikarom 1 year, and then the next it's like something else, and it's like if everyone just took that mentality, like it's so, and like the data is just there, like it's on Limitless. You can look at these top players, like look at your run last year. It was Garb obviously at the beginning because that deck was super busted. Then you went Zoroark. I mean, you had one Buzzrock, but you just went Zoroark, and then now you're on like a Mew 3 kick, and then you decided Zacian was good. Yeah.
Yes.
I think the more like people are gonna listen to this and like you say a lot of stuff that other people say, but I think your words just have more weight to them. Does something like that ever get to you? Where like do you realize that in this community that you are being held higher? Like I can say the same thing and it's not. It's if you say it, it's like, oh, fucking Tord, he did it. Yeah. Why didn't you play like Tord? I was like, dude, I've been telling you that. Well, Tord told me. You know. Does that get to you ever?
I mean, I guess it's nice to have your own opinions valued a lot by others, so they will listen to you. I guess that's something you get from consistent success, because then he's obviously doing something correct, so I guess he
Yes.
knows what he's talking about. Um, I, don't know. I guess it's a nice feeling to just
Yeah.
feel validated.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Right.
It does feel good.
What so out let's go let's jump outside this game because I think we've talked a lot. You've been very successful. You're having a great year this year. You plan on obviously it's really rough right now because of this virus thing going on.
Oh yeah.
But do you have it's hard to even ask, do you have plans to go to any big events like NAIC and stuff if they're being held?
Yeah, I mean, my plan was to go to everything I could possibly go to, which is reasonable though. I still don't think attending like Canada and NI regionals is reasonable for me as an European. So like what was reasonable was doing all the ICs and all the European regionals, and maybe like one special event, because those are also like kind of expensive and pretty much always in a bad location, at least for us in Europe.
Right.
Uh, that was the plan. Now I will bet that most events will be cancelled for the coming months. Still really unsure if will get cancelled or not. Of course, I hope it will not. But if it's still bad around those times, they definitely should. And I hope it will be if it's still bad around those times.
So, like, how do you? What's your
Like,
kind of opinion on that? Is there
like right now, I don't think anyone should go to any tournaments at all. It's just not worth it. And I think everyone going to Toronto these originals and then see it gets cancelled was, I don't know, it was kind of justified. I think I just don't think it was a good idea in the first place. So I'm really happy to see it gets cancelled, and I hope everything just gets cancelled. But I hope it gets announced so people don't continue going places and see it gets cancelled the day before. There's no point in like taking the risk right now.
Right. If
like it's a reason so many countries are shut down. It's not because it's fun, right?
Exactly.
This is affecting the whole globe massively, so it should be taken serious by everyone.
I agree.
I
just did a whole podcast about
everyone takes it serious, right? So,
do you, if they do bring it back, like say everything, hypothetically, everything clears up, which probably, I don't know. Let's just hypothetically.
We hope it will, of course, but it will probably take some time.
That's what I'm saying. If there's like everything's knocked out but Worlds, do you think there's any changes to Worlds where they lower the CP or anything like that? Do you think that those things would happen?
I'm not sure about that. It's kind of weird, no matter how they'll try to fix it, though.
Yeah.
Like right now, I just could picture everything being canceled, and I wouldn't have to deal with that problem in the first place. They just cancel the event, right? Don't have to lower the CP bar or anything. But it's one of the things that I could see them do, but I'm not sure if they will. I know a lot of people are really hoping for it. They are hoping this thing will blow over in like a couple of weeks or a month or two.
On Twitter, it's like, "Oh, we'd be good in a couple of weeks." I'm like, "Who are you? like, what do you know that we don't know?" Like, this could go.
I mean, I'm not the future seer, but I think it's not too pessimistic to say that it will probably take a little while.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
For it goes over.
So, saying the season's kind of wrapped up, you've had obviously a great career. Outside of this game, you're a student?
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm studying real estate and business, economy,
That's
those
cool.
sort of things.
Are you how deep are you in? Like, what year? I know things
I'm
are
on my
different
last
there.
year.
Oh, you're
I
on
will
the
try
last.
to graduate this summer. So
Okay, cool. So, but this has been a running occurrence. Like most of the top players in this game are either students or full time Pokemon. Do you think
I mean, just it just makes a lot of sense because
it
these type
does?
of people do have the time to put
Mm-hmm.
into the game, right?
Right.
Because
Okay.
obviously you do have to put in a lot of time for being a student as well, right?
Yeah.
But you do definitely have more free time as these type of people than you have if you have a full time job, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because then then your whole day is full and you're probably tired after work, and you should probably weave in other things than grinding when you get home as well.
Right.
So
That's what's up. Is there anything like outside of this game that you do? Do you play sports, something, or is this
yeah, I do actually. I
nice?
do enjoy playing tennis. I haven't been able to play for time, or I guess not haven't been able, haven't done it for some
Yeah.
reason.
I mean,
Uh,
Pokemon does take
I
over
really
people's
should.
life, you know?
I was really active playing tennis before, and I want to do that again. So
Right?
I'll probably start up pretty soon.
That's what's up. Like, cause like with the grind of this game, it's nonstop. Like I talked to someone on my last podcast where we talked about how there's no stop in this game. There's no off season. So like it's always nice to hear that a player takes a second to go do something else or whatnot. And I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Like because when I talked about Worlds, I personally wish Worlds was just about Worlds. You know, I wish you would go to Worlds. You're there to see the best players win. You know, but that's not how it is. There's people already getting points for the next season, and it's like a whole thing. And by the time Henry Brand won Worlds, a month later, someone else won a regional, and like, who's Henry Brand? And like that's what sucks. It sucks. Like obviously, if you would have won, like people would remember that because you have such a catalog of success. But like the if you'd asked your average Pokemon player who won Worlds last year, I would say they wouldn't know because the game just doesn't give you the opportunity to soak that in. Like, oh, he won, but hey, Xander and Igor just got 200 points for next year, so like we're back on the grind here. Like, how do you feel about that?
I guess that is true. So there are a lot of people playing the game and a lot of people that want to make a name for themselves, right? So if you want to have the really high status, you have to do something incredible, right?
Over and over.
Over and over and
Over
over.
and
Like
over.
winning a tournament is already incredible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you need to do it again and then again and then again, and hopefully without too much time in between them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just like there's just no time to soak in a victory. Like, someone wins next week. There's a new tournament next week. It's like,
I guess it's especially true for you Americans because here in
Yeah.
Europe we do kind of have the time to soak it in.
that's
actually.
true. That's true.
Because we have like one big tournament every 2-3 months, basically.
Yeah.
This year we had 5 regionals or something. So that's like one every other month, and then you weave in the internats as well, and that's the season. So it's basically once or every other month I have to go to a big tournament.
I like that. I like that. I actually like that structure. As much as like people like to grind and they want to play as much Pokemon ever, I just feel like for the growth of the game, you need to have these figures like you, where people that are playing this game can look at you and go, "Oh, that's Tord. I want to watch him play. I know him. He's won this much. He's done this. I'm cheering for him to win." And like in the structure we have right now, there just isn't that. It's like Hunter Butler won, and then next week is like, who's Hunter Butler? Because Nico won, and next week Justin Picardi won. It's like you got to win like 3 regionals for someone to like really remember who you are, and like
It depends so much here as well, though. Like, what is your end goal? Is it that everyone knows your name, or is it that you enjoy the game yourself, or that you're happy
Yes.
with a placement, or do you like money? Do you play the game for money? Is that the
Well,
reason?
it's in this aspect, I'm talking more of like a growth in like the game in itself, because I really feel a game grows when the fan base grows, and I think the fan base grows when they have something to cheer for, and something to look at. And like Pokemon's really hard because the best players don't always get matched up with each other, so you don't have that like, oh, we're gonna see Tord play Azul, and we're gonna see that, and like this is a rivalry, so it's like you don't have that, and then we just move on, and it's like no one gets that time to like or hear the story. That's one of the big reasons I do this podcast, because I want to give people the platform so they can watch this and see the player and be like, oh, I heard his story, and now they watch the regional and they have this background of the storytelling of like, oh, that's Justin Bacardi. He did this. He grew up with 4 brothers, and like he's doing well. I want to watch it, and like we just don't have that in Pokemon. It's hard for growth in something, in my opinion, in traditional sports. Like you see that stuff, and we just don't have that.
I can see that you want to make like storylines that people can watch, and yeah,
I think Pokemon
makes
tried.
makes the whole thing more interesting, I guess, as a spectator point of view,
Yes.
but also like as a player point of view, because you like to spectate as well.
Yeah. And I think Pokemon tried, because like obviously they did a spotlight with you, and then they ask you like a question where it's like, who's your rival? And like even like your answer obviously is it's hard to say, because this game is so hard to have a rival, because you don't sit here and play them.
You can play with the same 50 people at tournaments all year and only face them once, right?
Exactly.
That's face them one time. Right. That's it.
Like I don't know if you've watched, or do you watch like Smash Brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like summits. Like I've been talking to a few people. I think it would be so cool to take like an invite system of like the top 16 best players, put them in an Airbnb, and run like a gauntlet tournament, like 3-day tournament, where you do. There's no way that Azul and Tord are not going to match up. Like there's a poll system. You're gonna see these great matchups, and I think like something like that. Like obviously our Twitch numbers are so low, but I think they're low because we don't see these high key matchups like people really want to see.
I mean, that is a really cool idea. I could be in on that. That could be fun.
This comes again. It's so hard because there's just no time. Like the season just keeps going. It's like I'm like the only time we could do something like that would be like right after Worlds, before the first region of the year, and that gives you like a month. It's hard, but it's something I'm going to look into doing. We'll see what happens. No promises, but I think it would be really fun. I think people would enjoy it, and I think it'd be eye-opening to see like the best players play the best players.
I mean, it could be really cool. Depends if it's a market for it as well, though. I have no clue how big
exactly.
Market
no one knows
actually be as well.
Exactly.
So, like Pokemon attendance-wise is like pretty decent in comparison to the other games, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that has a decent player base for sure.
I agree.
But I think the people watching Pokemon are a lot less than the other games, right?
Yes.
Am I correct with that?
When you compare it to other games, I don't know.
Because like Magic also has a lot of viewers, right?
Yes.
You have like a big final in Magic, you easily have like 100K watching.
Yes. Yeah.
And you don't see the same numbers for Pokemon.
Yeah, no, not even close. But Magic also has it's like a Premier League where it is the best players. It's like taking the top 16 players and putting them all in a league against each other. It's like you're gonna see the best players play each other. And I'm like, this is how you grow a game. Like, people want to see these matchups. And, like, our tournament system is cool and all, but I don't think it's set up to grow the game. It's just there.
I could see Pokemon taking even more inspiration from Magic if they wanted to go that direction and make the game even more competitive.
I hope so.
Because I think Magic is pretty much doing it very well, in addition to the players, because the players can actually live off of Magic
100%.
because they actually get the funds they need from the developers themselves, right? So that would be cool, but I'm not sure if Pokemon even wants to go that direction.
I think they would have. I think they're really pushing VGC right now. Which it's cool, I guess. Like, I don't know if you watched the last few regionals where Pokemon has taken over Dallas and whatever, and it's like literally 90% VGC, and then like, oh yeah, here's the ending of TCG. It's like, well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, and I know VGC has had a crazy bump in years lately.
Yeah,
for sure. With the release of the new games, a lot of people have gotten more into it, and it hasn't died off yet. So that's actually
good.
really cool.
I'm all for it. To be honest, I'm really all for it.
We just hope it continues, honestly.
Right? And we like, TCG does take a little like aftershock from it. Like, we get more viewers, more eyes on the game. They might not stick around, but they might. Who knows?
But I mean, it's never a bad thing, right?
All right, let's wrap this up. What's your end goal here? Like, are you world champion and walking away, or you're content with what you've done and you're just playing till you're tired of playing?
Honestly, I'm already past my end goal. I think I said before, I already accomplished much more in this game than I ever hoped I could do, and I think it's basically just because I understand what you need to do to win events, but also what you need to get in terms of luck to win an event as well, right? And I mean, even if I do everything correct, do everything optimally, I'm still not feeling my odds are better than I don't know, whatever percentage to win an event, right? So you can never be sure, no matter what you do. You can just try to do your best, right? And feel really blessed that I've gotten where I have. I don't think, like, if you run a numbers game on it, I will never win worlds, right? Even though I know a lot of people think I should, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, right? So I will, of course, try, but it might never happen. But I'm still content with that. I'm still happy with what I have accomplished and where I am right now. And I am having a lot of fun with the game. I have a lot of good friends. Like, small kids come up to me and want their autograph on their playmat, and just makes me really happy, right? So basically, no matter what happens, I'm more than content with everything.
That's what's up. Are you gonna just continue playing until you just get tired of playing, or once you get into your career?
I guess basically I'll play the game as long as I have fun with it.
Okay.
If I stop having fun, I will stop playing the game.
To be honest, that's one of the best answers that I think I've ever had on this show. A lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna play forever," or like, when I get a career and a family, I'm done. But at the end of the day, when you say you're doing something you enjoy, and you're gonna keep doing something you enjoy until you're done, not enjoying it anymore.
Basically.
I don't think there's a better answer than that.
I mean, if my life situation changes, if I still enjoy playing the game, I will still playing the game. It will just be less or more or
whatever it is,
depending on whatever I have the time to, right? If I still enjoy it, I will still do it.
I think that's a great message for to end this podcast with. I think a lot of people think they grow up and they got to stop doing it because they're an adult, but at the end of the day, I mean, obviously you might have obligations that you can't play anymore or whatever, but if you enjoy something, keep playing, keep having fun. This game, it's fun. This is why we're all here, guys. We're here because the game is fun, and
We are, definitely.
just have fun. If you never win, you never win. And like Tord over here with 3 ICs, top 4 at Worlds. He's obviously he's content with what he's got. Doesn't think he'll win Worlds ever, but you know what? He's having fun, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, even if I had less accomplishments as well, still be happy because
Right.
I had so much fun over the few years. Even though that sounds really cliche, I remember so many games I had that were just so nail biters, and I had a lot of fun like trying to navigate those and like seeing my opponent's face and yeah, everything.
That's dope. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Where can
Absolutely.
everyone find you? Like on social media and stuff
Social
like
media, I mainly use Twitter nowadays. So you can find me at my name, at Tord Reklev, on
that? I have
Twitter.
Twitter. I have it down below for sure.
All right, perfect.
All right, that's good. Any shout outs, sponsors, stuff like that you want to plug?
Shout out my sponsor, Teammate with Planet, and shout out Limitless, all my friends there, and my friends and family, everyone in Norway, and everyone messaging me and coming up to me at events. I really appreciate all of you.
Dope.
So I just want to say thank you, and I will continue playing as long as I enjoy the game, and as should all of you, I hope.
Awesome, guys. Well, you heard it from the champ, guys. But we're gonna scoop it up.